everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are really excited. We just added a new feature, our Maps tab in-person profile. We are constantly evolving and taking all of the feedback that we can from our community. So thank you so much for helping us build this, and I'm excited to show it to you. So let's go ahead and get started and do a nice quick demo. So today's topic is mapping a life, exploring the new maps feature within Archoral. So what we're going to do today is we are going to look at what locations can tell you about a life. We're just going to do a little bit of an overview on that. Then we're going to move into the live application where we're going to look at what can actually be mapped in a profile. There's so much more to a person than what is on government documents, and we're going to take a look at how to explore that. So in a person profile, you've got your standard vital statistics, your life timeline, your union ceremony, a bunch of other events that you can map, and direct connections to locations. So when we get in the application, we're going to take a look at that. We're going to explore the Profiles Maps tab so that you can actually see how this gets plotted and how you can interact with that data. Then we're going to take a little bit of time and we're going to look at our map connections in the media indexer. So we are profile and media based. So what that means is you can enter your data either from the person profile standpoint or from your media standpoint. And we're going to curate it all together to give you that one interactive view. So by starting to look at what you can map in a profile, that will allow us to explore that Maps tab. And then I'll just give you that little bonus of how you can do it from the media side. On that media side, you could do the same thing, interactions with direct locations, your vital records, your event details. So let's talk about what a location can tell you. There's more to it than just an address. You've got your typical birth. Where were you born? Was it a facility, a home? Was it a car on the side of the interstate? There's so much context that can come out of just a date and an address for a birth. Then there's death. Where were you? What were the circumstances? Who were the people that attended your funeral? That tells you who was close, who your associates were that bothered to travel there. Education. Nowadays, people travel out of state for education all the time. So this isn't just a where did you go, but it's a why did you go? Once you learn where people went for school, you start to understand what they wanted to be, where they thought that their life path was going to go. And the majority of the time, when you enter a university or a higher education, you end up coming out the other end with a completely different purpose. So there's a lot of context that can come out of that. Also, lifelong friendships that can come out of that, which gives you more people to research. Employment. We all go through stages of employment. We start somewhere, we sometimes pivot in the middle, and then we end up somewhere. Those ebbs and flows tell you a lot about a person's values, about what they want to contribute or perform or interact with. And I'm sure all of you are different people throughout different stages of your life, and employment is usually a direct reflection of that personality. Marriage. Sometimes it happens once, sometimes it happens multiple times. There's a story behind all of that. Also, the location of a marriage. A union ceremony can take place in such a variety of places. Did you choose a church? Was there a faith? Did you choose a friend's home that meant something to you? Did you do a destination wedding? Was there a reason for the location? And that's not just the ceremony itself, it's also the reception. So there's a lot of context in a marriage because that is such a deep, meaningful piece of a person's life. Residences. Why? Why did you move? Was your house foreclosed on? Did you get promoted and you had to move? Did you end up having children and you needed a larger home? That studio apartment didn't work anymore. So you have to start thinking about all of these things in the why, not just the where. travel? Were you an adventurer? Did you want to see the planet? Did you work for Doctors Without Borders? Did you like to just go sit on the beach and read a book, or would you rather zip line off of a mountain? All of that tells something about the texture of a person, and that's what our coral wants to focus on so much. It's not just statistics, it's textures. Life path tells a story. So each one of these points that I have just kind of rattled off to you, there's a story and a context and a texture that can be extracted from each one of these things. And that's why locations is something that is so important to us, because it has a life of its own. So let's see what that looks like. We're going to move on over to our coral and check it out. All right, so this is our dashboard. When you first log into your archive, this is where you land. It's kind of the overview of your entire archive. This is also where I throw in my little public service announcement about how we have generated an AI family. Those of you that were in the waiting room may have seen this is Sophia's archive, and this keeps my family's personal information private and lets me take you on whatever journey we want to go on. Okay, so back to we are profile and media. So those are our two main tabs, but you can navigate from just about anywhere. We're going to start with profiles. Now, my little AI guy that I have sussed out the most for these is Caleb. This is Caleb's profile card. It holds all of the information from everywhere in the system. This is the curation zone. So I'm going to close our additional names section, and I'm going to close our variable information section. And you'll notice that we're stuck with vital statistics permanent, your birth and death locations. When you get a little bit deeper in the media indexer, it's also exhumation. It's also the funeral home. It's also everything that's associated with both the events. We just like to kind of clean it up a little bit here for you on the profile page. So you'll notice I've got a couple of different births here because I'm trying to figure out which one is true and correct. My little green one, I figured out that one was, but I want to save all the other stuff. And you'll see that some just say Seattle, Washington, and some give an actual building location. That is perfectly fine. Research happens in a flow. It doesn't happen in linear form. We're going to look at a timeline. This tab, we believe that people are so much more than birth, marriage, children, and death. So our life timeline takes into consideration hobbies, clubs, organizations, milestones in your life. We've made Caleb a marathon runner. So every time he ran a marathon, every time he owned a home, every time he landscaped someone else's home for work, it's all in here. You can capture so much of the essence of a person in a life timeline. In this life timeline, you'll see up here, add additional, and this is our indexer header. So event details gives you two sections, union ceremony, because that's the general term for it culturally. And you can see we've got ceremony locations, reception locations. We've got all this information that we can capture out of that. If I come in here and I go to our other events, this is where we can do all of the different event types. There we go. And there are lists inside lists inside lists. I'm going to do a webinar a little bit later that's called Indexing with Intention that will explain all of our internal lists and why we do that instead of tagging. So right now I'm just going to kind of give you that overview. Look at how much of life you can capture. There's so much. Location information. Where was it? Let's keep looking at what else we can do. This location. This is the person's relationship to a location. So those of you that do genealogy, and we get those amazing censuses that just give us a whole bunch of information, but it needs context to it. It needs all the other relevant information. So you can have a role to a location. If you're a property owner, if you're the architect for it, the builder for it, the landscaper for it. Now, those three in particular tie back into our location profiles as well. But if I choose link to, What's my relationship? Did I attend something? Was I a congregant, a customer, occupant? This is where you would put your residence if you weren't the property owner and it was just your residence. Service providers, teachers, travelers, so much different context can be taken out of just tracking locations. Vital records. This is where I went back to birth and death and the different information that can come up with it. How many of us love to track cemeteries? Cemeteries are a huge part of research, location of resting place. And then you can do some more information about it. So this is an enormous amount of information that can be gathered from a location, but how do we explore it? How do we wander around in our person's map? That's the Maps tab. So here, you guys are pretty familiar with this, where we're just going to pin some locations on a map. It's going to tell you we've got, 15 over here in Seattle. So that's going to tell you he probably lived there for a good duration. We've got 2 over here in the Washington area, and then we've got some random scattered ones, and we're not quite sure why. When you hover over and you click, that's going to tell you he went to Colorado State University and he lived in Spruce Hall. Okay, he went to Colorado for education, but why are we so connected to Seattle and Washington? Let's take a look. Washington, we've got 2. This is where his son was born, the Mueller farmstead profile over here in York County, Pennsylvania. What's the other one? He ran a marathon in Washington, D.C. Now you're starting to understand. But if his son was born at a farmstead in Pennsylvania, was there family there? Was there a reason that he was there? I don't know. Maybe that's how he got hooked up with the marathon. So you start to see how these locations begin interacting. So let's take a look at what we've got going on over here. If you remember that timeline that we looked through, that we scrolled through, that had all of his marathons and all of his union ceremony and all that fun stuff, that's all right here. That whole timeline is completely reflected here. And you'll see we've got direct addresses, we've just got cities, we've got actual location names. They all work. You don't have to have a specific GPS coordinate. And when you click on it, that is going to recenter and show you where that is. And you're like, okay, there's a whole lot of pins in this thing. So do I have to go through them one by one? Absolutely not. Right here in your categories, I kept mentioning the event details, locations, and vital records are 3 sections. So if I just go for event details, that's going to give me all of this. A person's life, you're going to have thousands of events. So what if I just want the union ceremony? Look, this is his actual union ceremony, but he was a member of this one, and he was a member at this reception. So there are now friends or associates that he knew enough to become a party member in their own particular marriage. If I just want to look at marathons, there's my marathons, where he ran them. I can click and it'll navigate straight to it. Now, locations, this is where we talked about direct connection, as in, did you have an impact on that location as a property owner, as an occupant, as a landscaper? So you can see here we've got 4 locations. 3 of them took place in Seattle, and 1 took place over here in Colorado. We've already explored that he was the occupant of Spruce Hall at Colorado State University, but giving you the visual look of it, you start to see levels of importance. Now, you got to keep in mind that this is an AI family that I generate. If I'm looking at a true human, a living person, if I were to look at me, this map would have red pins all over the place. My whole life, I have been a gypsy wanderer with so many different kinds of jobs that took me all over the country. So this map is going to look like a big red blob. But the parts that are condensed, that start becoming blue, that start giving you those larger numerical values, allow you to focus in on the importance areas of a person, and then being able to navigate to and start to explore those sections tells you the relationship to it. Okay, vital records. Again, I have two pieces of birth information. Let's say that I've got them decades apart because I accidentally blended two people together. You're not going to notice that as much in that run-on timeline. But when I look at it this way from the map view, it may pull those two decade apart birth events and put them in this one map view, and I can go, oh goodness, I have this wrong. And I can go down the rabbit hole, because it's always a rabbit hole, of trying to figure it out. So this is our map and the different kinds of ways that you can explore it. Now it goes global, 100% global. Got to remember, this is my little AI family, but it gives you that interactivity. So when we're here on the profile, we looked at the different ways to enter all of these locations, some different ways to add points to a person. But what if you've got the media and you're trying to do it from the media standpoint? Let's go check it out. Let's find, so I need to find some blue indexer icons because those have media. So I will open that. So here's all of the media that's connected to the birth of Nathan, to that one life timeline. It's scattered all over my archive, and I got it at a million different points of time. But I was able to index it from the media and from the profile into one event. And here are those same event tabs. My location, I can connect it to a profile. So this is where I did the Mueller farmstead where Nathan was born. Then I can open it up and I can do the address history for the vintage, the current, the location types, the property owners. There's so much that you can do from the media indexer. I tell people the way that I use it is I go into a person's profile and I just text entry everything that I can think of, the whole timeline, I do everything. And then as I find the media, I drop it in. I drop it in and start connecting it and start expanding it, but it at least gives me those placeholders in that timeline lineage for them. Vital records, your variables, your permanents, all of that is all of it is done here. So when I'm doing a census that has a ridiculous amount of information, or I'm doing a school class registry or a marathon for Caleb, I can come in here and I can put all that in. And by indexing something once, no matter who I connect it to, no matter how many people I connect it to, or how many locations I connect it to, this event is going to be in that maps tab. It's going to be in that timeline. So you don't do redundancy, and it's going to show up everywhere. So if I go back to Caleb and we look at him, and we had that birth of his son at the Mueller farmstead, that one that was out there in Pennsylvania. Well, Alicia was his wife, who is also Nathan's mother. I put that entry in one spot. And if I go to the maps tab, here is the birth of Nathan at the Mueller farmstead. It starts to evolve and show you the validity and the interaction with environments. The Maps tab is pretty standard. It works pretty much the same way that it does in a lot of other situations, like your Apple Photos, your things like that, if you're familiar with that. We just give you the ability to kind of explore, interact, and then extract things from that. Oh, one more thing. You guys noticed that when I was on the timeline, I clicked on the blue indexer icon, and that opened all of the media that was associated with the birth of son Nathan. We can do that from here too. So here's that Mueller farmstead, and here's that indexer icon with the blue media. So you're not stuck here on the Maps tab looking and just interacting with this. You can actually find situations here and click on it and open it directly into the media indexer and explore everything that's going on that location as well. So you're not just confined to seeing what you can learn from that one page. We like to make everything interactive so that you can, as your mind works, as you flow through, we like to make things easy and intuitive. Well, that is our Maps tab, and I am very excited about it. I got to see my whole family's journey and their migration when I looked at locations and got to see them travel the planet. This is our QR code. We do 14-day free trials. If there's any questions that you have, any comments, any suggestions, anything like that, our email here, we are listening at archoral.com. We know that this is a new way to index history. This is a new way to create that digital scrapbook that can be passed on for generations. And we very much want to help you make that as easy and painless as possible. So this was all, we started with a map tab display, and it was our community that gave us all of the suggestions for the interactions every time we go to a conference or get an email. You guys have amazing ideas, and we all go back to our little pigeonholes and click away until we can bring it to you. So we're very grateful about that. And thank you so much for joining us. Happy archiving.